Alright, hello internet. We're going to do another quick health update. I met with my cardiologist and things have changed a bit, so I thought I would keep you apprised of what's going on. So, just to come out right up front, apparently my doctors were wrong and I don't actually have an enlarged heart. And in fact, my heart seems fine and healthy and everything seems to be okay, which is great news, but I'm also kind of furious because they misdiagnosed me. I thought we had a diagnosis, which meant I could start getting treatment, but now we have no idea what is wrong with me, which sucks. So that's the short version, but I do want to talk about it. So let's talk about my visit to the cardiologist. Also up front, I was pretty angry when I wrote this. I believe I wrote this the day after I came home from the cardiologist. I was very frustrated by all of this, so I'm going to try to, tame that in the actual audio recording here. So the last time that I talked about the diagnostic process, I told some anecdotes about doing the stress test and the ultrasound and all that stuff. And at the end of it, after the ultrasound, basically the ultrasound tech took a bunch of pictures, sent them off to the cardiologist, who then reviewed them, and they sent a report to my regular doctor. My regular doctor's office then contacted me, and when I called in, they told me that I had an enlarged heart and that I probably had one or multiple heart attacks in the last year. And that was, that's very scary to think that I'm, 35 and had multiple heart attacks. But I could think of a few times where I did think, like, maybe I'm having a heart attack, but it wasn't, a super scary falling to the floor or anything like that. But I did, I could think of a few times where I was like, yeah, maybe I had a heart attack. But the main thing that my doctor's office did was refer me to the cardiologist. Basically, they were going to pass me off to a specialist and I would work with them for whatever came next, medication, surgery, whatever. Obviously, I wouldn't get that through my primary care physician. That would come through that specialist, the cardiologist. Well, anyway, fast forward to the day of that appointment. They told me, like, hey, it's the same place you went to for the ultrasound, the stress test. It's all the same offices, so just head where you went before. Now, I get really nervous when I don't know what to expect or if I don't know where I'm going, so it was kind of comforting to know that it was the same facility, same spot, all that stuff. So anyway, the appointment was early. I only got about 4 hours of sleep that day, but I dragged my sorry self out of bed, I showered, and I, headed off for my appointment. Now I got to the office, it was the same place I had gone for my ultrasound and everything, so I was just waiting patiently in line while they were checking someone else in. And I was like, it's like 5 minutes after the time I was supposed to be here, but they can see me standing in line, so it's fine. It's not like they're going to kick me out for being a little late for the appointment when there were people in front of me. Now I get up to the receptionist and I give her my name, my birthday, all that stuff, and she tells me that I don't have an appointment, which seemed a bit odd because I was 100% sure I had an appointment that day. And I said, oh, I'm meeting with the cardiologist. And she looks it up in the computer and says, oh, that's actually in the building across the street. And she pointed in a direction. So now it's 7 or 8 minutes after my scheduled appointment time. So I rush outside because I'm like, man, I really have to get over there or they're going to charge me for a missed appointment. And this building is actually an enormous campus as well. It has something like 7 different entrances, and there's tons of different suites for basically everything you can imagine that's not surgical. And in fact, I believe that campus is actually bigger than my local hospital. It's in the city. It's a huge place. But unfortunately, the way she pointed me actually led to a bank across the street, which fun fact, probably there are no cardiologists in the bank. So I'm hoofing it around the building, trying to find where she was pointing me to. I was running out of time. I was sweating like crazy. It's been over 80 degrees recently, which is pretty crazy considering we're about to get into September. So yeah, I had to call them to say hey, I know it's 12 after, but I don't know where I'm going. I was in the wrong building. And I was like, hey, I'm coming in. I know I'm late, but I'm gonna be there. Is it okay if I'm late? And she says, oh, well, we have a 15-minute policy, so as long as you're here in the next 3 minutes, it's fine. So at this point, I'm running around like crazy across this huge main road trying to get over to this other building. And anyway, I arrive and they send me to the lobby. Now at this point, I'm hot, I'm sweaty, I'm tired, my legs hurt. I barely slept at all, but I managed to shamble my way into the lobby. And about 15 minutes later, they call me in and they take me back. They do the basic intake stuff and they say, oh, the doctor will be in shortly. And then unfortunately, I sat in that room for another 35, 40 minutes just waiting for this freaking cardiologist to show up. And at first I was pretty understanding. It's okay, well, they're probably very busy, which they were not. I could see the lobby. There was no one there but me. And the more that I sat there, the more I got really angry. Like after like 40 minutes of waiting, I was like, man, what's the point of having an appointment if you literally don't see them until over an hour after your appointment? And admittedly, I was like, 15 minutes late for my appointment, but man, I was getting real mad sitting there. And anyway, finally the cardiologist comes in, and again, I'm angry at this point because I feel like my time has been wasted and I'm really tired from not sleeping the night before. And he comes in, he shakes my hand, and he introduces himself and says, oh, what brings you here today? And which is a stupid question because, like, obviously you have my information on the computer right in front of you that you're looking at right now, but whatever. So I said, oh, well, apparently I have an enlarged heart, so I was referred to you as a cardiologist, so you would be my cardiologist moving forward. And he chuckles and says, well, who told you that? And I was like, I'm angry at this point, so I'm like, literally your office did? Literally they just took the pictures, sent them to you, and you said I had an enlarged heart. You sent it to my doctor, a report that said I have an enlarged heart. And he does not seem to pick up on my irritation, so he laughs again, and he's like, oh, well, that's a common mistake in reading ultrasounds. Your heart is actually fine. Which, confused me. I was confused. And what I wanted to say was like, oh, okay, so it's common for you to not do your job correctly. I get it, okay. But in the moment, I was just sort of confused, so I was just looking at him. And so he draws a diagram of a heart. Actually, let me pull up my video recording software. I'll draw you a little picture so you can follow along. All right, and we're going to do this in Paint. I apologize, but I recently uninstalled Photoshop to make space for something. So he draws a picture of a heart, which we all know the heart doesn't actually look like this, but let's pretend that it does for the sake of this doodle. And he draws a line down the middle, right? This little just two parallel lines that go down the middle. And he was like, okay, this is where they usually measure to determine your type of heart enlargement. He's like, there's this thing down the middle. And if it's like bulging or whatever, that's like an enlarged heart if your heart's bulging. And then he draws all these little lines coming off of this thing. He's like, oh, these are called crypts. And they're, I don't know. He explained them. They're like little blood-filled. I have no idea. I'm not a cardiologist, so it doesn't really matter. But he was like, all these little things called crypts come off of this center line here. And he said when they measured to determine if you had an enlarged heart, they're supposed to measure the width of this, central section here, right? And he says, unfortunately, when they read your ultrasound, they measured from here all the way to the edge of the graves, or the crypts, excuse me, it's called a crypt. And he's like, and that's incorrect. They're not supposed to measure all the way to the outside of this line. They're just supposed to measure the distance of the little middle segment here. And I guess I'll stop my recording because we really don't need more pictures here, so whatever. So anyway, the part that they thought was enlarged is not actually enlarged. So I said, well, hey, they told me that I had one or multiple heart attacks. And he says, no, there's absolutely no evidence that you've had a heart attack. In fact, your heart looks really strong and very healthy. And he said that the valves also looked normal. So there's no leaking or anything. There's no holes in my heart, nothing to him that indicates a problem that we previously talked about all of those being a possibility. Now, which again, this is actually, good news. It's a great relief to know that when I get chest pains in the middle of the night, I'm not going to fall over dead from a heart attack, which was my concern previously. The problem is that now we have, absolutely no idea what is causing my chest pain, the dizziness, the erratic heartbeat, things like that. And in fact, I told him hey, but I can feel that my heartbeat is erratic sometimes and fluttery, and it doesn't feel right. And so he thinks most likely it's a lung issue, and it's I'm not getting enough oxygen. So when I'm not getting enough air, basically I'm not able to properly expel carbon dioxide, which puts a lot of stress on my heart, which then causes an erratic heartbeat. That's his theory. So it's kind of like it's my heart, but it's not actually my heart. And even that is just a hunch. We're not really sure what this all means. Now, he wants me to see a lung specialist, but he also stressed this is just a guess. He doesn't actually know that it's related to my lungs. And he told me that literally anything in my torso could present as having chest pains. It could be my liver, my kidneys, pancreas, lungs, stomach, intestines. Any of those things could cause me to have chest pain. So now I don't know what to do. He told me to continue seeing my gastroenterologist and that I should talk to my regular doctor about what to do next. He didn't give me any referrals that day or anything, and he just turned me loose, which also made me angry because all of this could have been a phone call. So to summarize, they told me to go to the wrong building, which caused me to have to literally sprint around in the sun to get to the right place in time. They then had me waiting for almost an hour just to see the cardiologist, at which point he told me that they had failed me and misdiagnosed me, and then he talked down to me, he laughed about it, and told me that I was fine. And then he did not give me any further referrals, so he didn't even tell me what to do next. So why exactly did this have to be an appointment? Why did I get 4 hours of sleep for something that you literally could have just called me and been like, hey, we misdiagnosed you? Now, I'm sure they billed my insurance for a visit to a specialist, which, of course, they just want money, I guess. And I still haven't lost my insurance, by the way. There's still some impending doom with that. They just sent me a thing, which I think is the death knell. I think this is going to be the end of it. But anyway, it's still not canceled. I don't know when it's going to be canceled, but probably within a month or so, I would expect. But anyway, they should have just called me and apologized. This guy didn't even apologize for misdiagnosing me or anything. He just said, oh, this is a common mistake, as though that makes it okay. So anyway, I hopped in my car, which has recently lost all power steering because, the universe is just an unrelenting, horrible thing. And I headed home. I tried to sleep for about an hour, and then I went to therapy and unloaded all of this stuff. So, yep, I don't actually have any heart troubles, apparently, at least that they have seen, which is great, but we still don't know why I've been having the chest pains. And the threat of losing my insurance continues to loom over me and is sort of terrifying. Anyway, yeah, I just wanted to offer this update since I literally made a video titled, I have an enlarged heart, and then it turns out that no, they misdiagnosed me. I don't have an enlarged heart, and I don't have a whole lot else to say about it, really. It's whatever, I guess. Part of me is relieved that it's not my heart, and part of me is absolutely furious that I don't have a diagnosis and that they misdiagnosed me. And, just frustrated at the way it was all handled and the way they did things. And, though I imagine you got my frustrations by listening to this story as I was telling you that. So anyway, that's the end of the video. I don't have any further appointments scheduled because I don't really know what to do next. But if there are any developments, I'll keep you posted, of course. And, I don't know. I'm looking forward to playing Starfield. That hopefully is going to pick up my mood a little bit. That game comes out relatively soon. Been seeing a lot of people talk trash on it, but every reviewer that I saw said it was fantastic. The beginning apparently kind of sucks. The story intro is not nearly as engaging as most other Bethesda offerings, but people have said that the ship customization, the actual combat and stuff feels really good, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It kind of looks like The Outer Worlds, but The Outer Worlds had such a silly tone to it, I couldn't get into it. It felt like they were trying to be funny every single sentence, and it just grated on my nerves. I hated The Outer Worlds, which is such a shame because New Vegas is one of the best games of all time. So I don't know. So I'm looking forward to Starfield. That should take up my day off, and then I'm off for Labor Day as well, which is pretty unusual that I have off for a holiday. So probably be playing a lot of Starfield in the near future. Hopefully that medicates me, because the main thing now is I'm depressed. It's not it's not this impending doom of my heart failing or something like that. I feel much happier about I feel much healthier than I did previously, and knowing it's not my heart is a big comfort. But now it's the depression, because it's the insurance stuff and where do we go from here. And so I've been feeling really sad and not very motivated, and family stuff, and just I'm looking forward to just losing myself in a big game. I think will help with the depression quite a bit. So yeah, anyway, I think that's it for the episode. Everyone, thanks for listening to me ramble. Hopefully you're not mad at me for posting about an enlarged heart, and then within 2 weeks I'm coming back and saying, oh yeah, by the way, that's wrong. So I don't know. It's just one of those things. When they told me, I was like, man, I told everyone that I have an enlarged heart, and now I have to explain to everyone that no, I was just misdiagnosed. So like I had to tell my family, I had to tell people on Discord, I'm telling people on YouTube, I have to go tell my therapists and all that stuff. Like, oh, I know I told you that they said I had a heart attack and that I have an enlarged heart, but actually I'm apparently completely fine. So thanks for being here, and I should be back with regular content in the near future. Since the appointments are over, hopefully we can get back to consistent content, because my YouTube channel is probably the worst it's been, like stat-wise, in over a year. It's just the lowest, analytics that I've had in a long time. So I really want to get back to trying to do YouTube stuff. Anyway, everyone, thank you for being here, and I'll see you next time, I guess.